On Second Shot, we tackle 2 new headlines every week to find out what kind of wisdom the world is dishing out today. And we want you to be a part of that. When you see a headline you want to take a second shot at, or if you're looking for advice, or just want to tell us what you think of the show, email us at secondshotcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, rate us on iTunes. This helps us move up in the ratings so more people will see us. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the show so that the new episodes will get straight to you every single Friday. We love you. Thanks for listening, and enjoy.
There's a lot of news in the world today.
News that might surprise you, startle you, upset, or maybe impress.
News that's not always for the faint of heart.
That's why the man who failed his way to success, Heath Oakes, is stepping up.
Tackling today's headlines with ignorance on fire in a way only a millennial mogul can.
Take off your sport coat, grab a beer, and enjoy the conversation.
This is Second Shot with your host, Heath Oakes.
Not gonna lie, that came in really hot in my ears and my headphone. I mean, when that started off, I was like, bam, with the Heath Oakes voice, just like a champ in my ears.
Just here to wake you up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So I'm here today with my beautiful wife, Jenny.
Hi, babe.
And Zach and Matt, as always.
Hey.
I'm not going to say they're beautiful, you know.
Well, not with that attitude.
I'm not going to go that far.
I guess people will need to watch the YouTube episode so they can determine for themselves.
Look at you, just a natural promoter. Just a natural promoter all day, aren't you?
I was just posting to Instagram telling people to listen to the most recent episodes. So, yes, I am.
Nice.
Just smooth like glass.
I love it.
You know?
How's things in the Oakes household? You guys are still moving, right?
Well, no, we ain't moving. We have a fountain.
10 years ago, we started construction on a home.
Yeah. 15 years ago, things started moving. Oh, gosh.
It's all good. You know, it's the lesson in being thankful for what you have. So, house that we are currently in is good.
Yeah.
Brighton has a little faux pool in the backyard, which she's been loving.
Really?
Temps are in the
all
90s.
redneck style.
You got one of those Walmart $4.99 numbers?
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Redneck galore, baby.
It's as good as it gets. Also, happy belated, Jenny.
Thank you so
You had a
much.
birthday.
Yes,
Yeah.
my 21st birthday. It was so good. So
It's a big one, 21.
Let's not go that far. Yeah, well, this weekend we'll be in Alabama at a friend of ours' wedding.
What's going on? A friend of yours' wedding. Great.
Yep.
Alabama, of all places.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Yep, be on the lake, and he has a lake house in Alabama. They're getting married on the lake.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be there this weekend. No, Alabama country.
That'll be really nice.
Yeah,
Sweet
it'll be
home,
fun.
Alabama.
Yeah.
You got family out that way?
I don't.
No?
I've never
Jenny's
even been to Alabama.
I think I was there once, like on accident, passing through or something. I don't think I've ever stopped for and not to say it's
throw
bad.
shade to Alabama.
Hey, they have a song, all right, and people remember it.
That is
so
true.
To be fair,
That is true.
Yeah, credit where it's due. Alabama's got something going for
Yeah,
them.
because Texas doesn't have any.
Speaking of
That's a funny.
speaking of states where things are happening, got some football news for the first headline.
This really got
Yes.
Zach excited. Football.
Let me tell you, because I don't know anything about this, and reading the article, I feel like I learned less. So hopefully Heath can help me clear it up.
Yep.
Colts Andrew Luck is throwing footballs. It seems the day has finally come. Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback Andrew Luck was seen throwing an NFL-sized football in front of the media Tuesday as the team began their 3-day minicamp. This is a huge step for the Colts and for Luck himself, as many have doubted if Luck could return this season. Making short throws in minicamp might not be the biggest deal, but this is very encouraging for the prospects of the team in 2018. Heath, who is Andrew Luck and why can't he throw a football?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So here's the long and short of it.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
I know him.
Was leaving.
Yep.
They drafted Andrew Luck first round, and he was the next best everything there is.
This was the follow-up to Peyton Manning.
Yes, and he was a child. Andrew Luck was a child, by
big
the way,
shoes
when
to
he was
fill.
Well,
drafted.
21 or
Yeah,
so, 22.
sure.
And he lived up to what the hype was. He was killing it his first 4 or 5 seasons, and he had a shoulder injury, and he missed all of last year and half of the year before. So it's like that's their franchise player. That's everything. When he was there, they were winning record. When he was out, not.
Right.
So like everything hinges really on him. And when I saw the story, it was like there were people commenting about, okay, the Colts are going to be back this year. The Colts are going to be back. They're going to be winning again. And I just thought about how much influence he has alone with being there. Like the influence that he has being on the field, that how others believe, right? Like how the team in that fourth quarter drive, when it's Andrew Luck in that huddle and going, we're going to go down and score, how much more they believe that that's going to happen because of his influence alone. And it got me to thinking about, and I was reading this book, and I'll tell you, the Go-Giver series by Bob Berg are books that I recommend highly. Jenny and I had a mutual love for the original The Go-Giver book. And that was kind of one of the first things. Yeah,
that was one of the first things when we were dating, when I was like, wow, he's the real deal and we have so much in common because we both loved this book. And it's been around forever. I'm sure a lot of people listening have heard of it. And also Bob Berg wrote the forward on Heath's book.
Not
the
forward,
really cool.
the cover testimonial.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
the thing where somebody important says, yes, this is a really good book.
Yeah,
Bob did that for
And
me.
The Go-Givers probably sold at least 1 million copies. I mean, it's a big book. I mean, it's so lot, and he's got a whole series. And so I got done reading his newest one, which was the Go-Giver Influence. And I started thinking about influence, right? Like how to, a lot of people go, how do I get influence, right? And some people throw out and use the word manipulation, versus influence and all those. And one thing I always like to say is that, manipulation is when you get people to do things that you want done. Influence is when you get people to do things that they want to do. Those are the two biggest things. And so how do you gain influence, and how do you help others with influence? How do you have the Andrew Luck influence that you can be the person that you solely come back and now all of a sudden everybody believes?
Well, to go back to the point of Andrew Luck, and I actually lived in Indianapolis when all of this was happening and kind of lived through the whole big, I guess, rise of him and the expectation of him. So one thing that he did, at least when it came to football, was he lived up to the expectation. He lived up to the hype, and he did so quietly. So it was like I said, he was a child. I joke about that, but I mean, really, he was coming into this big leadership position as somebody
taking over for Peyton Manning.
Yeah, for the great. It wasn't like he was coming to a team where their quarterback was a nobody.
Yeah.
Everybody, even people like Zach who do not know about football, know who Peyton Manning is. So the first thing that he did in that example was he lived up to the hype.
Yep.
He met expectations. In some ways he exceeded expectations, and he did so quietly, especially in the beginning where he wasn't coming out there. He wasn't out in the media.
He stayed humble. He wasn't out there being like, I'm the best ever.
Yeah,
he kept saying it's going to be hard to fill Peyton's shoes. He was very humble.
Yes, he was humble about it, and it made people take note, like, okay, well, so they had an expectation of an ego. Okay, well, that doesn't really seem to be there. But he also seems to be doing really well. So he's performing, but he's also not meeting the, expectation that he might have an ego or something like that. And he didn't start to really be out there as much in terms of asking for things in the public, like doing a big charity thing and saying, hey, everybody come out and see me, till a couple years in.
Yep.
So it was like he really took the time to prove himself and earn that award as an influence.
The results on the field, though, then took over as well. So because he lived up to that as well.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You can have all the other, but don't have the results, and it's not going to happen either. And if you only have results and that's all you have, your results will diminish at some point or another, and that influence is lost. So it's important to have both.
And with him too, I think about a work environment. You know how sometimes people say, "Oh, how is it to work there?" And somebody will just say, "It's just a bad environment," but they can't really pinpoint like what is that. One person has the ability to make the influence of a good environment or a bad work environment. And it's crazy because you don't really think about, I don't know, I just didn't really like working there. It's like a subconscious thing, but it literally could be one sort of like bad apple that's influencing positively or negatively. So we all have to look at, is that me?
Well, and I also think about it as parenting. How quickly you influence your kids, and I love it when the parents that will say, teach their kids, don't lie, but then somebody calls and goes, oh, tell them I'm not here, and they're teaching their kid then that it's okay to lie whenever you want to. You know what I mean? You got to think about the small amounts of influence that I realized. Like I was drinking my water one day and I took a drink, went, and next thing you know, Brighton is taking her drink, going, and now that's her thing. Like how quickly they pick up on everything. And how you have to think of those things, that it is the simple thing of when you say don't lie, but you tell them, say, somebody comes to the door, say I'm not here. That's lying. And you're teaching your kid that. That's an influence you're going to influence them on.
That's funny. I had a conversation just the other day with somebody about there was some study that came out that was like, it's okay to teach your kids to curse. Yeah. Because it's a good way to get out anger, and it's bad to bottle those things up. And if you say it, you get a better release of dopamine, so it helps you get over. I don't know, whatever. But the point was, I was like, my parents never taught my dad. I guess I learned a lot of curses from my dad, but I learned them when we were outside in the garage on a Saturday working on the car, and Mom wasn't around, and that didn't necessarily teach me about these words, what it taught me was the setting to use them. Don't
Yeah.
use them when people are around. Use
Yeah.
them privately. Like, that little
It's
things that you
subconscious.
don't, yeah, exactly. Those little things that you don't know about, like, you can't think of at the time, really do matter. And it seems like Andrew Luck is the kind of guy that understands that not only is he an influencer, but that it takes a village. That
Yeah.
you got to come
Yeah.
together and make these things happen, and everybody's got to have like their ducks in a row. And clearly, when he's on the field, people just seem to line up.
And one thing I want to give a couple key things, just a couple. There's a lot that could go on, but I think there's these 2 or 3 points that if I could give anybody, if they're trying to influence a situation, right? If they're trying to influence somebody for sales, if they're trying to influence somebody to helping them in their way, whatever it is, a couple key things on influencing others and doing it. Number one is you've got to be the one leading the charge and have results before you can influence anybody. Like, you can't be the one telling everybody work hard and you show up late and leave early. Like, it's not ever going to work. The other thing is if you're ever in a situation of negotiation or any of that and you're trying to influence somebody, right? You're buying that car and all that. One of the second biggest key is to keep your emotions in check. If you start realizing that slow down and breathe. Don't spout your mouth off real fast. Think about it. You want to slow down, breathe, and think. Don't let your emotions take over and take control. The third thing, which is one of the biggest keys, is put yourself in the other person's shoes immediately. So when you slow down and breathe, your next thought should be, okay, how is Zach seeing this right now? What does Zach think? What does Zach want? What does Zach need? Like, if you're both in a negotiation, instead of just thinking about what you want and need, put yourself in his shoes and say, what does Zach need? Like, maybe this rides on his career too if he doesn't close my deal. Maybe I'm just thinking, maybe it's a vice versa. And these are a couple of the keys that I got out of the Go Giver Influencer that have really hit me hard. Where I felt like I got to make sure in today's world, not enough people are putting somebody in the other person's shoes. So I would say number one is get results. Don't come in barking orders until you actually prove it and they see it. Number two is slow down, calm down, breathe, think, let your emotions take control of your emotions. And number three is put yourself in that other person's shoes truly, not a little bit. I'm talking about fully immerse it and see how you can poke holes in yourself to where they would see it on another way. And I think some of those things could help you influence. And that if you want to be that person, like it would be a great thing to be in a Andrew Luck's shoes, that people look at you and go, man, like this person can help do it. And I want to encourage you to try to be that person, try to be that influence, try to go strive to do things different, to be an influence that when you're around, others feel better. Others feel like I'm going to be better if I'm with you. And I think a lot of the world can change if we have more people influencing in the right way. So we'll be back here in a minute for the second segment of Second Shot.
He's a suit and tie kind of guy with deep Southern roots. Heath Oaks hosts more of Second Shot coming up on RNCN.
To all of my friends in the great state of Texas, if you have not taken advantage, I have a way to save you a ton of money. I have saved over about $3,000 in the last year, and I have no hassle. Go to energyogre.com, put in the promo code SECONDSHOT. Now listen, promo code SECONDSHOT, and you're going to get a free month just for signing up and saving a ton of money. So don't be crazy. Stop sitting around talking about, is this the real deal? And go do it right now. energyogre.com, promo code SECONDSHOT, and a free month. Thanks. Go get it now. Run.
Ready? Aim. Fire. Second Shot is back for another round on RNCN.
I swear that did my wife take some crack or something? She's over here doing like these like sideways dance thing all of a sudden.
At least there's some motion.
She's been up since like 2:30 this morning. Somebody should not be as wound up as you are.
Matt's got something to cut to at least, right? Like, hey, here's dancing.
Oh, see, I was thinking that part wasn't on video.
Oh yeah, it was.
Okay.
No, we got it. We'll
maybe
make sure that's
not.
on.
I don't know. Matt, did you catch any of that?
Oh, the video's always rolling.
Oh, yeah.
We can always cut to the video.
I was
whenever we
picturing in
need
the
to.
YouTube version that was more of like an animation, like a second shot. Psh, psh, psh.
Well, it is,
Right.
but now it can be you dancing
Great.
because you're
Perfect.
on there.
Well,
Yeah.
good. It was a really well coordinated, lovely.
Just
dance,
going to immortalize that.
Yeah.
Our daughter's dancing. We got Brighton. When we turn on music, and she'll sit there and just kind of bounce and bob
Yeah.
and weave with it.
Figuring
It's
it out.
super cute that she's starting to. This is just like this week. I need to write that in her baby book. Is she started to dance?
Yeah.
I bet
at
it-
12 months and 1 week old.
I would bet her casual bobbing and bouncing and weaving looks exactly like me at any wedding. Like,
Yes.
just horrible. Just
Yes.
like, yep,
Yeah.
this is music. Yeah, I can dance. Cut a rug.
I'm hoping that she gets my dancing skills.
Oh, you have dancing
So that
skills?
no one will
no,
want to
not
dance
at
with
all.
her.
Oh, okay.
But I would rather her have mine, so she ain't got to worry about the boys like going, oh man, look at she has her mom's dance
Sure.
skills. I'm in trouble. She has mine. I'm good.
Don't have to worry
Because
about
trust me, she won't be lighting it up on fire. I can promise you that.
Not a dancing queen. Speaking of queens,
Oh,
what a segue.
good
Yeah,
segue.
people are dragging Meghan Markle for showing her shoulders, and it's infuriating. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made their first post-honeymoon appearance together over the weekend to celebrate Trooping the Color, and Meghan looked stunning. She also broke royal protocol, choosing to reveal her shoulders, gasp, in an outfit by Carolina Herrera. Naturally, the Queen seemed okay with it. Everybody on the balcony seemed okay with it. The royal family seemed all right with it, but Twitter had a lot to say about it. And some of these tweets are pretty damning, Heath. Kate will always be the classy one. Lady, she will never be a lady. When is she going to learn to not wear a cocktail dress to a day function? Not the right dress for today. And her dress is astounding and a complete disrespect to royal tradition.
So I know nothing about any of those traditions things, but nothing about that dress said one thing about cocktail or anything to me.
No, it wasn't even really off the shoulder. It was like kind of
Yeah, y'all can go Google and look at Meghan Markle's dress. I'm sure it's all. I mean, I thought it was a very classy dress, and I don't know anything about this stuff.
I agree. Yeah, apparently it's outside of traditional royal protocol, but yeah, she was slammed.
Oh yeah, and what I thought about what was the wedding like 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, so and everybody. I mean, the overwhelming that I saw was just praise for her, right?
Definitely.
Like how awesome it was and how great, and then how quick all of a sudden that can change on you for wearing a dress that I thought was absolutely a perfect dress, but
Heavy as the crown, Heath.
Yeah. And so I thought about this old saying that a lot of people call it different things, but I call it, kind of the dip or the roller coaster type effect of things that in your life, in your career, in your personal relationships, when everybody says, if it wasn't difficult, everybody would do it. Everything's worth. That's the old saying, right?
Sure.
But what they're really kind of talking about is this dip. In anything that you do, there's a dip. And that dip is when most people quit. So, for instance, I'll give you a podcast one, which was out of 280-something thousand podcasts registered out there, only 30 or 40% are actually active a month. Overwhelming majority podcasts stop after 7 episodes and quit. And most never make it to 100 episodes. And the ones that make it to 100 episodes are the ones that usually stay very consistent long-term and do well. There's a dip. And we've seen it in our podcast as well that, there was those times I got frustrated that I'm going, we're just, like we were at this one mark and then went down and then it started kind of coming back up and it stayed there and it's kind of like, oh, do you quit? Do you give up? No, it's a dip. You got to ride the dip out, and in sales too, and especially what we do when I bring people in, I always tell them, look, when you come in here, you're going to hit a wall. It is going to fail. Everything's going to go wrong. Like if you name it, it's going to go wrong for you. Some people come in and it starts from the get-go, which means they make nothing. Everything fails for them in the first 3 months, and then it hits. Some, it hit off, and they have sales on the first 2 or 3 months, but then the dip comes after that. So it's going to happen, and that's where most people quit. So in marriage relationships, that happens too. That's why people fail at marriages, because a dip happens, which means the honeymoon phase is over, and you got to actually work through issues with each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's when people quit and give up. The thing is how do you know when it's a dip and when it's like a cul-de-sac, when you just go around in circles and you go, because I don't believe in never quitting. I believe there's a time that you've got to move on, but then there's the dips. And it's always what you got to regulate in my mind is figure out, is the dip worth the reward, right? Are you, whatever you're doing is, if you know going into it that a dip is going to happen and the long-term reward is worth it, you'll stick it through. But most people don't. So what are your thoughts around the dip?
So that's interesting. Well, when I think about the dip, I think of this more like in an interpersonal type of way, whereas especially somebody, high level like Meghan Markle, gets elevated to this fame. And sometimes when people have that big elevation right prior to the dip, they kind of ditch their, regular friends, your middle school girlfriend that's, works at Target. You're like, oh, well, I have these new royal friends. But here's the thing. When you go through the dips, that will define who your actual friends are, and not just friends, but also sort of colleagues, people in your business, people in your industry, people who still respect you, because you're going to make it out to the other end, right? But then after the dip, who was there? And if you're the one who got rid of the other people, well, that's on you. So I think it's about maintaining those people around you who are going to love you through everything and kind of keep a hold of you. I just went through a job change, and it's like it's crazy how quickly you will kind of say, oh wow, this person doesn't reach out anymore. Yeah. Wow. And so it just, each time you do that, it redefines, and then you start a new job and maybe they reach out again. And I just think it's important to surround yourself by your regular friends, people who aren't famous or aren't really high up in their industry, but are just like your friends. Well, but just like those regular.
Sure. I mean, and thinking about it even more so.
So it's a totally different take that we both have. And but dealing with the dip, I think it's important to have your, whether it's your family, your best friend,
you're going to have your relationships to help you through a dip. Yeah. But a lot of times I get a lot of people always ask on how do they know when it's like the right move to move or not, right? And
sure.
I love the illustration of a dip or a cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac just goes in circles, and when you're in a spot that's going in circles, that's how you know to quit and move on. And here's the thing is there are times that you may be that person that you're 10 years with a company, you've moved up real fast, and now you're kind of plateaued, and you're doing well, everything's great, but you're not striving to be the best anymore, you're comfortable. Then that may be a good time to quit and go somewhere that they don't see you as that young person that 10 years ago, that you're not going to get that chance for next moves. And then there's the dips of, I get a lot of people in the sales and stuff. It's like, look, what are you shooting for long term? Anything there's going to be, if you're starting off the new job being a customer service person, understand you're going to have a dip because you're going to have lack of knowledge than everybody else that you're going to have to catch up on. So you're going to be behind at times, but you don't want to just make it through the dip. You want to forge through the dip. You want to power through. Here's the thing. I always tell everybody the dip will happen no matter what. There's zero ways around a dip in anything you're starting out, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a career, whether it's your own business, whatever it is. There will be a dip. The people that are great the only way to make that dip less of a burden is to work faster in the dip, which is harder because you mentally are going to be beat down. You mentally will have a struggle, so you got to step your game up even more. So when you're the worst mentally and you're the most exhausted and your worst feels like going their way, you have to do more than you've ever done because your dip will go from 3 months to a month and a half. You're not going to pass the dip, but it's going to be faster.
Right. If you want to climb a steep hill, you got to step on the gas.
And so, for instance, I know in Jenny's line of work, she talks about it a lot that the majority of the people quit after their first job or whatever because
the first job for everybody is a dip.
Yeah,
that's a guarantee.
Well, and sometimes maybe their first one is not. Maybe it's really good, but then the next one maybe it's the dip. But the dip happens, and that's when you find out if they want to be journalists or if they were just excited about being on TV, right?
Yeah, it does kind of. I think that the dips help you define your passion too. Like, do I like this?
Do you love it enough
to keep doing this, even though I have to get up for work at 2 a.m. for 15 years, or even though I work weekends, or even though the pay isn't where I want it to be? Journalism has to be a real passion. You have to really, really, really care about meeting people and telling them, telling their stories.
Because people all think it's just a pretty thing. You get to be on air and glamorous, but they don't understand the dirty work that has to go in your first 8 years.
Yeah, and you have to care about the people you're telling the stories to, and so that goes the same for any job, whether you have that side of inside passion that's going to carry you through the downtime, so to speak. But shoot, I don't even think it's the best that makes it in my business. I really think it's just the people who just keep going. Like,
but those are that is the best. No, but that is the best.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
the difference
natural
between
talent, though, babe. Like natural talent. Like, some people you look at and you're like, man, they are so good. But what they don't have is that resilience to just keep making it through. So then their natural talent only takes them so far. And then the people who say, sure, I'll keep getting up at 2 a.m. I will keep getting up. I will keep getting up. I will keep getting up.
But that is the difference
Then
between
you
great
made
and
it.
not. You can have all the talent in the world, but it's the resilience and that persistence
Right.
and to make it through. So what more so is, think about it. If you're in that situation where you feel like you're in that cul-de-sac where it's a dead end and it's a stuck, that may be time to be thinking about moving on. If you're in a dip, that's different. If you're looking at taking on any situation, if you're getting married, if you are changing a career, if you're starting a new job, or if you're totally starting your own business, or if you're doing any of those things, what I want you to think about ahead of time is the dip will happen. And so when the dip happens and the money's down and I'm not making anything, it's a short-term pain. Will it be worth it for you to stick it out for the long run? So that's how you can tell if what you're going to go into and do, if it's worth it for you. Is the long-term payoff worth the short-term pain? And so that's one thing that you really want to think about on whatever you're stepping into. Is this person I'm marrying worth the dip? Is this career that I'm going into worth the dip for the long-term gain? Because it will happen. There's no way around it. So I hope you take that to heart and take a couple of those things and figure out, look, if you're in that dip now, just forge through, work faster and harder, and you're going to get past it. We'll be back in a minute with the third segment of Second Shot.
Now that's what I call ignorance on fire. More of Second Shot with Keith Oakes still to come.
You guys have been listening to Second Shot and hearing us talk about it. You need to go pick up my book, Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. You can get it on Amazon in a paper book. You can also hear this beautiful voice of mine in audiobook style on Audible or anywhere you're going to get your audiobooks. Guys, this book took a lot of time to put into it, and I believe it can really be some life-changing stuff to help you on your path to success. And hopefully you're going to fail your way to success just like I did. Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. Amazon.com, Audible.com, audiobooks, paper books, everything. Get it, share it with your people, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Go pick it up today.
Kick off your boots or suit up. The choice is yours. Welcome back to Second Shot on RNCN.
I was just about to get Zach, and he pushed the start button at the perfect time for this episode. Timekeeper.
What?
I got
What
you
can
did
I
good.
do?
You did good. You started it perfect.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, I barely. I almost missed it. You almost caught me.
It doesn't matter. Almost doesn't count.
I need a lesson in working into a habit.
You're in a dip right now, Zach. But we're here for you. We're your real
thank
friends.
you. It's very sweet.
The book called The Power of Habit
Yeah.
is one of the best books in the world about habit.
The Power of Habit.
The Power of
I'll
Habit.
write
It's
that down.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the book.
What did it do for you?
It changed everything. I've read it several times. I mean, it helps you understand how a habit happens. And so I'm one of those that as soon as I can understand the why behind why maybe maybe I always like to look at any situations of where why does that make me feel that way? Why do I get upset about that? Right.
Yeah.
And when I can understand that, then I can usually make changes. And so the power of the habit, that's what it talks about, is why we do certain things and habits, and it kind of explains how to break the habits and some of your cues and all those things. So I like it.
The Power of Habit. I'll check that out.
Yep, it's a yellow cover. I can't remember who wrote it, but
Yeah.
I know it's the power of habit.
The Power of Habit.
I had the cord stuck around my foot. So we got a couple emails. Again, secondshotcast@gmail.com, guys. Y'all know this is when we like to see any emails you got, maybe headline suggestions, maybe you want to tell us we stink, whatever you want to do, just holler at us and tell us. secondshotcast@gmail.com. And also, I'm still going to shame you on the reviews, and I want to appreciate a couple of those people. They have actually been doing some of the reviews. Thank you who actually listened and got tired of getting shamed and actually did it.
Yes, shout out.
Shout out.
I appreciate you so much.
People have been reviewing, and they are figuring out how to listen, figuring out how to subscribe, because sometimes people will just find one episode and then they go to their podcast and they're not there. So you want to hit subscribe too, so that they come up every Friday.
That's what it's all about.
And then you can go to my YouTube channel at Heath Oakes if you go on YouTube, and these will be on there to where you can watch them as well.
Yeah.
Watch every single one of them. So we got one of these emails. Okay. So this person says, the headline says, something to mention about Denny's, because it's talking about our IHOP. Remember our IHOP?
Oh, yes.
Which I was
IHOP.
wrong on that, because I was thinking IHOP was for breakfast.
You were wrong. For the record, it's International House of Burgers.
That's crazy to
Did
me.
anybody out there in the world think it was going to be burgers?
That just doesn't make sense, honestly.
Some people guess bacon or biscuits.
Bacon or biscuits?
Breakfast.
I heard bankruptcy. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's funny.
Stop it.
You did a little drum sound on that one.
That's right. Denny's
Yeah.
would have appreciated that.
But this is from Tyler Call, who I think is a fan of the show. He's written in before. Said, hey, I just listened to your most recent podcast where you're talking about IHOP changing its name, and you mentioned Denny's marketing in there at some point. He said, I agree that it isn't really helping them, but they do actually have a really good way of practically free advertisement. Both Denny's and Wendy's have great social media teams, work on Twitter and Tumblr. I personally like Wendy's tweets and stuff better, but their activity on those platforms gets shared a lot because people think it's funny, which gives them more free advertising. Thanks for doing this podcast. I learned a lot from it. Hope you guys have a great week. Thanks. So what I think is hilarious about that, too, is that did y'all see the Wendy's and all of their Twitters?
Yes. They were trolling
hilarious.
IHOB so bad.
Oh, man.
I mean, it was hilarious. That was like the most epic wars of fast food like joints and stuff. The most shade I've ever seen, it was great. And think about it, IHOB did their big media stunt, but Wendy's and all of them, they came in and kind of stole the show some with
Arby's is good too.
Yeah.
Oh, they were like vultures. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as it came out that it was burgers, every social media team jumped on them.
Whataburger's social media team is great.
Oh, sure.
I mean, honestly, I follow some of them just because they're hilarious. They're how they making fun of each other almost, and it's like with people versus, and it's the companies. It's so cool.
funny. Yes, it is. Well, and it's like originally companies were so stale and so stark, and nobody paid attention.
They're
but
being
now
way too serious.
They're being way too serious, and now it's hilarious when they do it.
Yeah, it humanizes them in a way, and it brings them down to earth, and it makes it feel like, okay, this corporate brand has a sense of humor that I can identify with.
Yes,
but it's like it's kind of, I was telling our company the other day with some of it. They put out the same stories of their how to get their social media up, and it's always the here's 8 reasons why to buy short-term disability and stuff, and I'm like, it's
tough.
You've got to get better than that. You've got to be more creative, and you look at Wendy's, and I mean, like, honestly, people get, I want to follow McDonald's today to see a picture of a burger from them or something. No, they do it because they're creative and they put out funny stuff, and they all make fun of each other's chains and stuff. I mean, like, how many followers does a Wendy's and stuff have?
Wendy's?
Or Burger King or whatever?
They didn't used to have that many, but they hired this brilliant girl a while back, this woman who was running it for them, and they got to a point where, like, people were wearing Wendy's T-shirts because of their Twitter account.
I'm on it.
So
how many followers?
Yeah. How many followers do they have? Just to put you right on the spot.
1.6 million. Burger King does have 1.6 million. This was a funny one that they did. So somebody tweeted and said, hey, at Burger King, do you have a grill at IHOB can borrow? And then Burger King replies, sorry, old Burger King can't come to the phone right now.
Right. They changed their Twitter logo to Pancake King. That was their fire back.
I mean, that's just great. I mean, it truly is genius. It's outside the box. It's outside of the norm. And they're all doing it, and it's becoming a thing to be funny and how they do it. And when they have that kind of followers and build that, because it has to be hard. I mean, in an insurance company, for instance, it's hard to do something because insurance is different even than fast food, where, insurance is serious. That's serious business for people, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's hard to be, where's that line of how can they get it? Because not many people want to follow just to read about 8 things of short-term disability can help out, right? But
like, how do you stay on brand but also be fun and engaging and funny and
it's got to be
smart,
tough for a lot of really old, very, very, I should say old, established companies. Thank you, Jenny. That have been around for a real long time, because to them it's like, well, this is business and business is business, and we don't need to get on social media and philander about with throwing shade at people, and that's not what we do. And like, it's true to a point. Like, the world's always turning. New things are always happening.
Don't be Xerox.
Don't be Xerox. Sure.
And then the other one we got is from Brenda Walker. She was the one who sent the email last time we answered the question. She was the one who was who left her job. They had a 13-month-old daughter.
Yes.
Brenda
said, "Thank you, Heath and Jenny and team, for a great segment. My eyes water as you spoke to my last email. Still a roller coaster of emotions, but this shall too pass. You did help me very much. Good news, I have telephone and in-person interviews coming up. One interview is
yes, Brenda.
One interview is because of knowing someone. Unfortunately, that still happens, and I am okay if I take an in-between job. Not ideal, but when you have a baby, it's better than unemployment.
Yeah.
Yep. Better news. I'm keeping my promise. Work half days, network the other half. I do feel some time off. Hopefully, I won't go stir crazy. Thank you. Big hugs. Stay cool in Texas, and keep smiling. Your daughter is sunshine to your day, I bet. Yes,
Oh, yes, and your baby too. And there's no way she's going to be able to go stir crazy, because even if she's home for half the day, with the 13-month-old, I know that it's like, man. And you know what else is hard? I give her a lot of credit for too, because the days when you're home with a child do fly. It's like you get nothing done. So the fact that she's structuring it like this, I'm guessing she's working during naps, or perhaps has somebody helping out here and there. It is harder to structure your time when you have that baby. So I'm guessing that the second that the nap starts, that's when she's doing it. Or the other thing that I know Heath does a lot of is like be home and awake and available during that last little chunk of the day with the family. And then as soon as bedtime starts, because they go to bed pretty early, it's like back to work mode. So that's another sort of chunk of time, just because I can relate to her in the mom world, that as soon as bedtime starts, you can be like, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 hours here to respond to emails or whatever.
Well, and there's always a way to figure it out. It's just how bad do you want it? A lot of people go, well, I'm too busy, I can't. No, it's just not your priorities.
Right.
And it's not easy. It's not easy, but if you want it that bad, you're going to figure out a way to do it.
Sure.
Heath always gets me with that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just I do. It does irritate me when I hear that I don't have time.
I haven't said that in like 2 years.
Well, I know, so you know. But it's just always that.
I'm curious why. Yeah, why does that?
Because it's just not a priority.
Because he's saying, well, did you go to the gym? Yeah. Okay. Well, so that was a priority. Right. So like if for example, if I were to say to him, gosh, sorry, there's no food in the house, or sorry, our daughter has grown out of her clothes 6 months ago and she doesn't have clothes. And I'll say, oh, well, I just haven't had time. And he says, no, you haven't made it a priority because you went to the gym.
It's not a bad thing.
It's never a negative.
It's not that I'm saying that she's bad for doing that. I'm just saying when you change in your mind, when you get out of this habit of saying I didn't have time and you get into realizing that means it's not a priority, what you do to it is you make yourself realize, like when you have to say it's not a priority versus I don't have time, you automatically, all of a sudden, start doing things a little bit more, because that's a harder pill to swallow to say it's not a priority.
It's harder to say.
I like it because it actually gives the control back to you.
Yes.
Because sometimes you can feel like you're floundering, like, oh my gosh, I need more time in the day. I need more days in the week. It gives you the control back to the choices that you make. So I always, like I said, gym, health, I think it's big time priority. I think that's usually outside of work and family, that will be my priority. I know the benefits I receive from that. So that will be, but I know I'm making that choice.
Yes. Right. And that's what that priority does.
It gives me control over it and peace of mind. That's what I'm choosing to do.
Yeah. And it's very practical, because if somebody would say, well, I couldn't do that, I didn't have the money, that's like a tangible thing. Like we've got time. You had time. Time was spent. There was time.
Well, I mean, it's like, you worked all day, right?
Sure.
Okay. That was your priority. Getting the batteries from Lowe's was not your priority, which it's not that it's right or wrong. It's just it helps you. I believe it has helped me in my mind not get a free pass on things I just forgot to do and act like I didn't have time when I just didn't make it. Because if I made it a priority, I'd have got the inspection done in my car a long time ago, so my registration wouldn't be a year old.
Sure.
So that people wouldn't call me out on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I saw my expired registration.
And I appreciate the ownership of it. I didn't have time implies that I didn't have a resource available to me.
But
there was some kind of bigger something that didn't grant me that ability. It wasn't a priority means I decided not to do it. Yeah, there's a difference in ownership, and I appreciate that.
Where can we find you at, Jenny?
At Jenny Ann Chondo TV on Twitter, at Jenny Ann Chondo on Instagram and Facebook, and watch the Instagram stories because I always show really embarrassing behind the scenes of my husband.
It's a great time. Totally worth it. At Apple Zackintosh on Instagram and Twitter. I'm trying to get more into Instagram. I'm struggling. I'll get there.
Leave us some reviews. secondshotcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. Ed Heath Oaks or Ignorance on Fire. Look me up on all of the handles. As always, love you guys. Have a good one.
Listening to RNCN, the digital destination for premium talk radio.